All right. Parashat Balak. Not Blake. Balak. Parashat Balak. I'm going to talk a little bit about, last few weeks we were doing a little bit of leadership, management, and so on and so forth, lessons. I would like to continue with this, with your permission. I would like to continue with this today as well. However, this time we're going to talk about a little bit maybe about a lesson that the donkey of Bilaam is teaching us, what we can learn about Bilaam himself, and his whole message to Am Yisrael. Maybe Be'ezrat Hashem at the end, what can we learn from that for ourselves? So the leadership message that the donkey of Bilaam is teaching us bring us really to measure the ability of a leader, a manager, or anything of that sort to really do what? Manage himself appropriately, first of all. And that ability might bring him to the understanding that the responsibility, the vast responsibility of what is so-called the climax of his place, whether it's his factory or company or home, is first of all in his hands. In other words, the atmosphere, so what's going on there, he's the one to determine that. In other words, if you have a place, as they say, the fish stinks from its head, So if you have a place that is not functioning, you gotta first of all look at the leader that is there, because he's the one who sets the tone for what is actually going to happen there. And then you need to remember. And again, that has to do with your company, with your work environment, with your family, anywhere that you are in that kind of a position. So if you're going to be a parent or you are a parent, it's because of you, good or bad, most of the time. But that's your responsibility. So on a superficial view, it seems like that the job of the manager is really to be, or call it the leader, is really to be the authority on the ground. He's the one who sets says the yes or says the no and so on and so forth, to really decide and to determine the actions of others, his employees, his family members, his team members, and so on and so forth. You want to talk about a sport team? Well, a sport team cannot be successful if the atmosphere in the locker room is poisonous. So his job is to give orders and to make sure that those orders are going to get executed. That's what it seems, right? I mean, that's what they tell you all the time. So I'll have news for you, I think. Not only that it's not correct, but there is a prior stage for that is much more critical to success altogether. And the ability of the leader or the manager is to first of all manage himself. How do you manage yourself? A leader is not only a very, very busy person, but is a person that has tremendous amounts of stress on him all the time from all different directions and so on and so forth. And the bigger the organization, the bigger the stress that is going to be applied on you. If it's hard for you to understand that, look at any president at their inauguration ceremony, and look, especially if it was two terms, look at them how they look at the end. And it doesn't make a difference if it's a cowboy from Texas or a liberal from, I have no idea where he is, from Chicago. Or whatever, from Arkansas, I don't want to, whatever, you got the drift. They age tremendously. Imagine a prime minister or president the decisions that they have to make. I mean, I was thinking, everybody thinks, I could be president, I could be a prime minister. Do you know what it is, for example, when you need to send people, let's say, for war? You know that a lot of these people are not going to come back. How do you sleep at night? How do you do that? You know that you are responsible. I mean, it doesn't make a difference what stories you want to tell yourself. For the sake of peace, for the sake of... But you are sending people to die. And maybe that's the greatness of Reagan. Among other things, that he did not actually go to a all-out war with the Soviet Union, but rather applied a lot of economic pressure on them so they would crumble. But how do you sleep with yourself at night when you know that you are all well taken care of, and whatever it is that you're doing is basically making people hungry, or people cannot afford to live because of your wrongdoing or your lack of doing? Now, it's not because this person is just a bad leader. He's not a leader because he most likely cannot manage himself. And you'll see that those who were successful presidents also were able to manage themselves one way or another. Those who were out of control were failures. Or failed. So we really need to understand that. The amount of pressure that is. So let's say you're running a business. So you have customers. You have, let's say you have a big company. There's a board of directors. Or you're in a school. There's the teachers and the parents and the students and the state and this lawsuit and that lawsuit. It's crazy. You don't understand what's involved with that. And not only that, I mean, you of course also have your own personal life. And in your personal life, you have a wife, kids, friends, hobbies, neighbors, friends from high school, friends from college, buddies from the army. Everybody's trying to pull you to a different direction. Everybody wants a little piece of your heart now, baby. And at the end, you feel like you're being ripped into pieces, into shreds. So only when a leader / manager, first of all, can manage himself appropriately, only then he can manage others. Otherwise, you can't. A person that fails on the first stage should not fool himself that he will be able to lead other people. You can't lead yourself, can't lead other people. And that's what I keep telling you through, and it's something that I observed, to my own observation. I don't have data to back this up, Mr. Research, I don't have statistics. My own observation that, it's pretty good. Most controlling people are people who feel and experience lack of self-control, lack of control within themselves. In other words, these are the people who cannot control themselves, so therefore to satisfy this need, control others. Most controlling people themselves are out of control. Since I didn't do a research, I'm saying most, I didn't say all. But that's usually like this. The more controlling the person, the less you know that he's out of control for himself. And therefore you should make a quick assessment and go 180 degrees to the other side. So, because it's going to bring you down. And a person that is not able to guard and to identify within himself those processes that are happening all the time, his urges, his directions, his intentions, and so on and so forth, is not going to be able to manage others, most likely because he would not going to be able to identify their motives and the reasons why they're doing certain things, and then it's going to fail, which we spoke about last week also. So as when managers or leaders and so on fail, that the workers would see that they're not appropriately operating, or the people are not appropriate, and therefore they're going to find scapegoats. Either the worker is going to find the scapegoats, or the board of directors is going to find a scapegoat. Oh, sorry, I said skateboard. Scapegoats. Or you, as a manager, will find your scapegoat to get rid of the person that you put all the blame on him. Meanwhile, the blame is on you. The blame is on you. You are the cause for the failure. So there are, for example, managers who would scream and yell and threaten and even fire people. And they would never take the blame for themselves, instead of really understanding what causes to this catastrophe, to really assess, to sit down, assess, do post up, like in every good unit, and the better the unit, the military unit, the more they do a pre and post up. At the beginning, everybody in those tier 1 units, everybody sits down. There's the commanding officer says that's the objective of the mission, and that's how we're going to do here, and this we're going to do there. And then they says, okay, anybody has anything to say? And you can have a guy who would say, well, I think it's wrong, and then you'll get the stage, and they would listen to you and they say, okay, that's a good idea. Let's run with it. And then when come back, whether the mission was a success or the mission was a failure, they do a post-up. They sit down and they see exactly what worked, what didn't work. Because sometimes the mission worked and was a success, but there were a lot of mistakes or lucky strikes along the way that could have turned into a catastrophe within a second. So they do this self-interrogation. What happened? What did you do? What happened with this? And so on and so forth. And that's why those entities are tier 1 special ops. They're unique. But that's what we all should be doing, as Jews especially. When we at night, before we go to bed, we says, Hashamti, Chatati, Aviti, Pashati. You're basically making a post-up for yourself. What did you do today? What did you screw up today? What didn't you do right today? And so on and so forth. Was that a good day? Yes. No. Could have been better? Yes. No. What could I do therefore to make it better tomorrow? Because you all go to sleep, you wake up like a bunch of cows. You never think about what you're doing. All you do is eat, whatever, and sleep, and get up, go to work, go to do your work, you plow your fields, whatever. It's like no more than a cow. We were given this intellect to do so. Now, the warning that we were just talking about, we find in this week's Parashat. And we find it specifically from a very simple animal. Bilaam's donkey, or also known, how do you say female donkey in English?
Jenny.
English. Jenny. Right? And that Jenny, the donkey, from the moment that Bilaam is riding it to his journey, she started to go zigzag, going its own way, until the point that she actually crushed his leg on a wall. So a moment before, this desperate Bilaam is taking his sword and he wants to kill his misbehaved donkey. The donkey turns to him and she speaks to him clearly, in a clear language, in order to understand why exactly you're doing it. And it says, Shmana, listen, buddy, says the donkey. He said, we're working here together, you're riding me and I'm whatever, not from yesterday. And I was always good for you, and I was always loyal to you, and I always did my job the best possible way. So you really need to understand that this time, if I decided to go to a different way than you wanted, most likely there's a good reason for me to do that. Don't you think about it? And even if not, even if you didn't figure out that reason by yourself, well, at least you need to understand that something is wrong. 1 second, this donkey always did whatever I wanted from it. Never said no to me, always handed herself over to me to do whatever I want. Why is it going this way? Something, the animal is feeling something. I saw a funny clip somebody sent me to me. There's a guy, I don't know, a Chinese guy, whatever it is, I don't know. He goes on a road, the road goes like this, and he paints, like really beautifully, masterfully, a whole flock of whatever it is, of snakes. It looks like they're crossing the road. And he just puts a camera to see. So you see a guy driving with his scooter, all of a sudden he goes, "Whoa!" Goes like this. Then a dog comes. The dog comes running. The dog was running. Dog was running. He stops, turns around, it goes like this. So animals feel. Animals feel when there's an earthquake. They bark. They do this. So if this donkey is doing everything all this time, did everything right, now that it's trying to go the other way, well, there's something is. Just stop 1 second, Bilaam, and just think about what's going on here. So. That's just peculiar. So remember, we said that the manager really needs to manage himself, first of all. So Balak, Rabbi Yitzchak Arama, says that the claim of the donkey is as follows. Bilaam showed failure of leadership. He didn't show good leadership. He showed bad leadership. That when at the what he does, he starts blaming his worker, his donkey, instead of really striving to understand what are the hidden motives that really brought the routine of this of the good work that this donkey was doing. Bilaam, Chazal said, was a model for a rotten man which was a very immoral man in any parameter, in all aspects of his life. He was bad. He was bad to the bone and beyond. In Pirkei Avot really analyzes the personality of Bilaam. He says he has ayin ra'ah. He has bad eyes. There's nothing. He's a negative person. Always sees bad. Doesn't see anything good. He's arrogant. He's immersed with physical desires. He's spoiled also. In a way, there's a little Bilaam in all of us. And we need to understand that. Or, if we're going to use it, he was jealous. He likes the dulce vita, like the good life. He was arrogant. He was egocentric. It's like these people who make themselves have nothing better to do in life. Then all of a sudden they decided, nobody's paying attention to me, so let me make myself an Av Beit Din. Right? I'm going to make myself a cheese rabbi of I don't know what, West Mongolia, just to have those titles because I feel I have the need, and it was not for speed, but rather the need for power, because nobody pays attention to me. I'm bad, and I'm going to do whatever I can so you would not succeed. It's bad. Right, Jonathan? Sounds familiar. So, a person like this, you should know, cannot lead. He's being led. And what's leading him is his weaknesses. So if you're such a person, you cannot be a leader. And that's why I keep telling you many times. People say to me, Rabbi, I'm already getting older, I need to get married. But if you don't possess minimal leadership skills of yourself, if you cannot minimally manage your own self, I know what everybody's going to scream, but do yourself a favor, don't get married, because you're going to ruin somebody else's life. You have no business getting married. You're a grown, imbecile child. There's no business being married. You need to understand that, first of all, to be a leader, you need to assume responsibility. If you are not willing to take responsibility for your actions, don't get married. You got to be mature, responsible, selfless, kind, brave, and without saying over and over again, disciplined. If you can't do that, please don't get married. Don't get married. So instead of doing so, what does he do? He blames his donkey again. Bilaam blames his donkey, and he cannot even lead his own donkey. In Hebrew, donkey is called chamor. Chamor mishum chomer, materialism. He was motivated. So here the donkey, we can take an analogy of it and say that Bilaam was riding his motive, his catalyst inside of him was materialism, uncontrolled materialistic desire. And that's horrible. You can lead yourself. So it's not just a donkey. It's a representation of what he is inside. He doesn't care that his son would not go to yeshiva, but he needs to drive a BMW with atomic nuclear reactor inside. I don't know. He'll spend them, I don't know how many, like $2,000 a month to lease, but his son to yeshiva, he will not send. Kind of a thing like that. He's, and that's the message, by the way, that we get to it towards the end. So that behema, right, that donkey, or his chumriyut, materialistic, went to whatever he wanted to go, right, or whatever he felt it should go, even if it was against what the boss was telling it, right, because the guy who was writing it did not transmit authority. Not tyranny, but authority. It was not a model. So therefore, first of all, a leader should be a model. You cannot expect from others what you don't expect from yourself. At least. If you don't expect anything from yourself, how do you want others to do it? What kind of a model do you give them? What kind of example you give them? It's the same thing. If you want your son to learn, you know what? Go to yeshiva to learn yourself. Take responsibility for your actions. People look at you. So, a person that cannot really manage himself, that was Bilaam. A little bit of tavat betza, how you say, greed or honor. Right? The people say, Bilaam, man, you're the best. You're the best curser. You're the best sorcerer. Right? Just a little bit, man. Right? He was willing to do so to kill a whole nation. Just that he would say he's the best. Many leaders are like this. They'll sell their mother so they will be engraved and written in the books of history. Yonatan, you with me, honey? And what did the Jews do to him? Anything bad? Nothing. They didn't do anything to him. How are you willing to do so? Well, it's my honor. I want it to be written. That's why when we're asking to manage people and so on and so forth, especially when we're trying to understand their motives and what they're doing and how they're doing and how to make them do things better, when we analyze failures or lack of willingness to them to hear what we are saying, we really first of all need to understand what are the processes that happen inside of us and what we should do ourselves to first of all make ourselves better, to be a better role model. Because the people are like the donkeys, right? is there any responsibility that we have to take for the failure? Are we responsible for anything? Are there hidden motives under the surface that were not known? Is there nepotism, whatever it is? What is there that it's not working? If you know 100% that you did whatever you can in your power and it didn't work, well, you missed reading the map. What's going on there? Somebody was throwing a monkey wrench into your wheels. Somebody was doing that, and you didn't read it. You read it wrong. You miscalculated. Well, go back and assess. Don't stop doing the blame game. Assess. So, if you all the time dealing about your authority, how to control the people, you're never going to be able to lead anyone, because simply they're going to work to somebody like this. And the same thing, your kids. If you are a tyrant at home, and the Gemara tells us, "Le'olam lo yashlit adam eima yetera beveito." In other words, don't be a tyrant in your house. Why? Because your kids and your family are going to be afraid of you. At the end, they're going to make a mistake, and they will be afraid to tell you, and you're going to eat nevelot and tarafot because of that. Be more easygoing. Easygoing. I'll tell you a story. My mother's father was a superman. I mean, really like Yoni, please. Was really a super person. One of his children was off the derech. He went to university and decided he's a chodjera. So one of his neighbors came to him and he said to him, "Why don't you say something to your children? You'll be mekayim the pasuk, right? Which pasuk? V'yeshiv lev banim al avot." My grandfather said to him, but it says v'yeshiv lev avot al banim. I can't push him. I'll leave the door open. If I'm going to push him, I'm going to tell him, get out of here, I will lose him forever. If there is a chance, I need to give him a chance to come back. Don't be a tyrant. Somebody did something wrong. Your wife accidentally, she made a mistake. What? Something broke at home. Something expensive that your great-grandmother from Mozambique gave you. I don't know, some kind of a crystal vase it broke. I know. Malasot. No, it broke. And it happens. It's a thing. So you're going to destroy somebody over that? Teach people to be better. But you have to teach them only by example. Only by example. So something happens, so it broke. So it broke. Why, are you going to take it with you to the kever? Oh no, I want to give it to my children, my grandchildren. Who said your grandkids are going to be interested in that? Is that good for you to destroy somebody over that? That's what happened. Your wife made something for Shabbat, turned out to be bad and burnt. All right. It's okay. It happens. You're not going to starve. We really need to understand those things. So, a leader, manager, first of all, needs to be humble, and that's the difference. That's the complete difference between Bilaam and Moshe Rabbeinu. He needs to be humble. He needs to have virtues. He needs to have values. He needs to listen. He needs to learn, and only then people around him would want him to be their leaders, and they will be proud to be led by him, not because of authority, because they're afraid of you, but rather because of respect and appreciation for who you are. And one of the brachot of Bilaam HaRasha really, in a way, holds within itself the secret for true happiness. Bilaam was very, very impressed, by the way, from the way Bnei Israel was stayed in the desert. The way the tents were, and in the orders in which the tents were, until he says the famous pasuk, right? Ma tovu alecha Yaakov mishkenotecha Israel. So that impression of Bilaam that he had from Am Yisrael really came from the fact that the opening for the tents did not face one another. In other words, each one was directed to a different direction, was never into somebody else's tent. Okay, so what's the big deal of that? I mean, isn't it nice? They're going to put all our teepees like this, facing the center. There's going to be a fire. We're going to do kumbaya. We get the guitar. We're saying how many roads and some Bob Dylan. Smoke a little,
reefer.
Talking about smoking meat. Reefer.
That's what they call it.
No. So it's there's many layers of that, and it's very interesting. And really, in the simple explanation to that, there is an expression for Am Yisrael really keeping the tzniut of the family, the privacy of the family, which is something very important. Am Yisrael is known for tzniut. And they're really preventing themselves from looking into the tent of the other people. But if you look deeper for that, there's really here an expression for a whole entire world view that really could bring you, and listen to me, especially you guys who belong to communities that like to do things, you listen carefully to what I'm saying now. And really, really pay attention. Understanding that can really bring you to happiness and to really internal happiness and contentment. So building the tent in such a structure that every tent was standing by itself and was not facing one another really resembles and expresses the fact that each and every one of us has a certain truth and a certain way of life that is set and unique for him. What's good for me is not necessarily good for you, and that's good, which I tell you many times. I don't have to agree with everything the other person does, but I respect his free choice. If you ask me halacha, I can tell you, but if you choose to do this or you choose to do that, it's your choice. I respect the fact that you had a free choice. I might not respect your decision, but your ability to choose, well, that's your choice. That's your choice. And that has to do with who your children will find as a spouse, whether you like them or don't like them. You need to understand that that's their choice. You need to let go, especially when it comes to kids. They might cause you a lot of pain and agony, but that's their choice. You can't micromanage everybody's life. So that's something that is very, very important. We all, of course, as I said to you before, bound to halacha and bound to morals and ethics, but the way in which we express our personality is completely different than the other person next to us. And that we need to understand that. And that's wrong, I think, when we try to make everybody the same thing. Everybody like little penguins banging on our heads like with little drums, We can march to the whole drum. The only drum that's halacha. But the way I express it, it's different. It's very interesting. My wife had, a month ago or so, she had a birthday, so the kids arranged a whole thing. Everybody came together, they sat down, they ate, and so on and so forth, and they decided to do a project. And so they took a canvas, and they had one picture, and everybody was making the picture. It was amazing to see how there were no pictures that looked like the original, and there were no pictures that were identical to one another. Each one was different. Each one was different. So, what happened? Died?
It's about to, so I'm just gonna.
So let it finish until it dies.
I don't know if it'll go through.
It'll go through. So, when we understand that each one of us is entitled and should express his personality through halacha, right? And it has a different shade to it, a different colors to it, right? That's very, very good. And many times when we're talking about the next door neighbors with the grass is always green on the other side, it many times brings us to a chance, now pay attention, to really imitate, bring us to a place of imitation and the fact that we want to be like the other person. Therefore we see, and I see it many times with people in yeshiva, you could tell sometimes which yeshiva the guy went to based on how he moves and how he talks, because that's how the Rosh Yeshiva talks. And that's wrong. Because you are not being yourself at this point and on. You're being an imitation of someone else. And when you become an imitation of someone else, how can I ask you to become genuine? How could I ask you to become truthful if all you're doing is imitating? I know a guy, well, he knows a lot, but he imitates Rav Ovadia yourself to no end. I respect his Torah, but not the way he does it, because it's an imitation. I don't like imitation. Give me original, even if it's an old, worn, and old wabi-sabi. Give me the original. I don't want imitations. I don't want copies. I want the real thing. Because I try to give you who I am. Don't give me who you are, not who somebody else is. Because if I want that someone, I'll be a friend of him, not you. I want to see who you are. And the problem comes, especially when we go to shidduchim, we go to marriages. You go to a person, you offer her yourself to get married, and the person doesn't know really who you are. Because all you did is you play a role, you play an image. And you become an idol worshiper because you were worshiping an idol instead of worshiping Hashem and being yourself. And the way we talk, and the way we move, and the way we do things. Where is you? Why do I have to follow this and the image do you expect others to be? It's not right what you do. It's not right what we do. It's not right. We have to stop it. And that's a lesson that we learn from here. So this kind of I feel that, like, for example, if I have this famous Rosh Yeshiva and he's famous and everybody listens to him, so let me talk like him. Let me use the same style of like this, because everybody listens to him. Because it seems to me like he's happy, so if I'll be like him, I'll be happy too. And that's not true. The only way you'll be happy is, first of all, if you be yourself. And I said to you before, you need to learn to manage yourself. And the reason why you don't manage yourself, because you don't know who you are. You know? So if I'm a rabbi, I'm supposed to only listen to Avram ben David, or I don't know what. Who else is there? Yaakov Shweki. What happened if I like Deep Purple? I mean, that's not rabbinical. What's wrong with that? That's how I express my Judaism. Of course, within the boundaries of Allah, and I'm saying within the boundaries of halacha. I'm not talking I'm going to be like a rainbow man now, or reconstruction because I feel like that's how, kumbaya, I'm going to hug everybody and this like this. No, I'm not talking about this. Within the boundaries of halacha, and the boundaries of halacha is vast. Express yourself within halacha. You want to wear a srugi kippah, and that's what we do here in this yeshiva. I don't tell you all got to look the same way. Look, there is a certain bare minimum which I expect you to come to dress as dignified as you can. But I don't say you got to wear a hat. You want to wear a hat, become a cowboy. I don't really care. Come with a cowboy hat. You wear a kippah, wear a kippah. That will be halachically correct. What color? Up to you. I don't really care. You want to wear a srugi kippah, you want to wear a big kippah, you want to wear this, as long as it's halachically appropriate. Taseh ma she'ta would say, li ze lo echpat. I don't feel intimidated by you wearing a different size kippah or different color kippah. Doesn't bother me. You ask me why I wear this kippah? Because it's good. Doesn't move off my head. I like it like this. I like it. I hate those things with the bobby pins. It pulls my hair. I hate it. Don't like it. I look like a retard with this bobby pin, like this. Give me a kippah like this. I'll wear it. I don't care. It's nice. Mayesh. That's gonna make me look less. Halachically is okay. You could see from all the things. It covers the whole thing. Look at beseder. So it's like a kippah, proper halachic kippah. Beseder, zayin gesund. Beseder, yofi. Lama lo. That's a part of managing yourself. You want to know how to become a good manager? That's how you start doing this. So when we when we have, I'll tell you the truth, being truthful about this, that this kind of management of oneself really creates a confusion and really puts us far from really connecting to our true identity, our true unique and true identity, really puts a limit on what we could achieve, because I gotta be like, even if I gotta be like daddy. Who said you gotta be like daddy? So daddy is a successful businessman, and you decided to become a poet. Who wants to? But daddy is upset. Well, daddy has a chance in his life to do whatever you want. That's it. You want to be a poet? Go become a poet. You don't have to be like daddy. And whoever is that daddy figure for you. Or imitate. You watch movies, and that's the worst part. You look at movies, you watch it. I told you, I remember this. After it was in the, I think, 80s. I don't remember where. It was a movie, Wall Street. Right? Everybody was smoking cigars in this movie and wearing suspenders. After this movie, everybody, I knew this guy. He was a really cool guy. Very nice, cool guy. He became an assistant menayel in the Yeshiva. Right away, took the belt off, put suspenders on. That's it, wear suspenders. How are you not even a fan? Why you wearing suspenders, you know? But that was the style. The whole craze about cigars started from then. Until then, not so many people smoke cigars. So you watch movies, you become like that. You watch inappropriate movies, your wife becomes like that. Your daughters become like that. But you never know who you are. The Torah tells us, Mabnei Israel, Rachmanim, merciful, kind, shy, Baishanim. Busha is a good thing, to be shy, to be soft-spoken. They tell you, no, you got to be out there and you got to talk about whatever you want, Shtuyot, nonsense. There's certain things. Okay, so let's say you go to therapy. The therapist wants to know everything. What are you running, like some kind of dirty movies or something here? There's certain things that even a therapist should not know. Sorry, therapist. Even he should not know. There's certain things only between you and God. And they should stay like this. If you want to talk about things, but, also have self-respect. Boundaries, morals, Rabotai. The problem is that we teach our kids a lot of garbage. We can teach our kids about sex education in the second grade. But we don't teach our kids, no one in school, appropriate social morals. Not agenda-driven. You want to know why everything's going down the tubes? Because nobody talks about this. How to be, the word gentleman is became the new N-word or some kind of curse. Gentleman, right away. What's the problem with being gentleman?
Gentle person.
Regardless of because we have to be to the different. First of all, the word man should not be. It should be, a gentle it. Whatever today. It's like nonsense. But I yet to see a woman, as liberal as she were, even if 2 seconds ago she burnt her bra, that I opened the door, she didn't say thank you with a smile on her face. And if she doesn't say thank you, say, excuse me, thank you, you're welcome. I don't have a problem. But that's who I am. You like it, you don't like it. Drink cold water and move on. I think it's appropriate for me to open doors for ladies, lama lo. Or for another human being. That's who I am. If it is within the boundaries of halacha, I'm there, I'm going to do whatever I want, and you're not going to tell me what to do. And if you don't like it, you don't have to agree with it. Here's a door, there are a few exits here, take a hike. Lo manien oti. I need to know who I am. If I'm really looking for the truth, I got to be truthful with who I am first of all. How can I make tshuva if I never really knew who I am? How could I do the process of tshuva if I never took responsibility? I always blame everybody. The donkey, the road, my mother, my sister, my 5th grade math teacher. It's never me. You see that things don't work. What am I doing wrong? Things don't work for you. What am I doing wrong? You're still, 33 years old, and you're still very picky about who you married. Don't wonder if you're not getting married. You're doing something wrong, mister. Or probably the mirror is broken. Tell me where your birth is. I get you a mirror. It seems like some of them don't work. So when you are disconnected from that, first of all, how do you get disconnected from the truth? How you get disconnected really from who you are? But first of all, looking into your neighbor's tent, into what's going on in his house. And slowly you're disconnected from yourself, from your own shoresh neshama, which is special, and you're coming to a feeling of disappointment, to depressed, so sadness. And that's going to stay within you unless you're going to really start focusing on your own self and change things around. Be truthful to who you are. So the excitement of Bilaam to the doors or to the gates of Am Yisrael, the tents were not directed to one another, really came that he understood that every family in Am Yisrael is busy building its own self as the way it should be. Every family, they do like this. So if my neighbor does one thing, it doesn't mean it's good for me. I'm not saying what they're doing is bad, but it's not necessarily good for me. It's not good for my kids. It's not good for my persona, who I am. And that especially goes when you start with weddings and events. So if the guy threw a $180,000 wedding and you don't have it, and you feel, they're going to say, so he's going to talk about it. So he's going to talk about that you did a wedding for $20,000. What's the big deal? If he doesn't like the food, he doesn't have to come. But that's what I am doing. Because when you don't do so, you don't live for yourself, you live for somebody else. If you look for the approval of every person out there, you're never going to get it, and you're going to live life of discontent and misery. All you got to do is, first of all, do what God wants you to do. God needs to put, the Kadosh Baruch Hu needs to put the seal of approval on your actions first of all. Not people. In your wedding, there's going to be mixed dancing? No, good. Are they going to have blood kosher food? Good. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not interested if you spend, $180 a person, or $200 a person, or $20 a person. We need to evaluate our actions based on what God says, not what my next door neighbor says. And that's a mistake that all of you are making, especially in this community. You think you're going to be happy? You're not. And then you wonder why your kids go off the derech. Why are there so many kids that go off the derech? Because we all build beautiful houses. But maybe that's not what your kid wants. He wants to see you. He wants to see your mom. He wants to see you more relaxed. If you're busy all the time, running and chasing, or he put a new balcony, okay, I'm going to put 2 balconies. He put marble, okay, I'll bring marble from Rome. You're never going to be happy because you never see the bracha in what you have. And therefore, when you're busy running around after chomriyut, like a donkey, you're not going to be able to lead your kids. No wonder your kids go off the derech. No wonder. So, that is knowing that. If you do so, it will really make you flourish and grow in your own path. You'll flourish and grow on your own path and your own pace also. And at the end, you're going to be all satisfied. And if you're going to be satisfied, you're going to be happy. You'll be able to communicate with God better. And you're going to have internal and true happiness. And that's why they say, Ena Shechina Shora. The Shechina, the divine presence, doesn't come in a place of depression, of sadness, of anger. It restricts it. It doesn't want it. It can't grow. If the divine presence comes to a person like this, it would shatter him. The vessel, constricting vessel, cannot withhold the expansion of true spiritual entity that comes into you. That's a tremendous lesson from this week's parasha. Tremendous lesson. That comes, listen, this Shabbat is Yud Zayin B'Tammuz, we're going to fast on Sunday. But it's a tremendous lesson to all of us. And I'm telling you, Don't waste another day to look and seek other people's approval. Do what you know is right for you to do within the boundaries of halacha. You want happiness, you want success, you want all the brachot in the world. Do that and worry about yourself, first of all. Shabbat shalom.